What's up, Internet Land? Zachamus Prime, aka Zachamus Prime, here with another Transformers third-party review. And today, the figure we're going to be reviewing is kind of an older figure. So first and foremost, I want to point out, this last week I drove down to California to spend some time with a friend of mine, and on my way out, he's like, "Hey, did you want to borrow some figures to review?" And I was like, sure. So he loaned me just a fuck ton of figures, and so I'm gonna go reviewing them all. And today I'm gonna start with the Toyworld BII. This is actually a really nice figure. Like, I definitely like this figure more than the MP45, and there's things about him that I like more than the MP12. No, not 12. Gosh, I don't remember what number the older Masterpiece Bumblebee was, but there's things about this guy that I like better than that too. First of all, he just looks great. Let me tilt this down a little bit. Let me tilt this down a little bit. He just looks really good. For a long time, I just kind of discounted this guy because I was like, oh, he's just like a fancy version of the classics Bumblebee, and there are a few engineering cues taken from that, and it's like I guess they use that as like a starting point, but no, you definitely can't just like sit here and be like, oh no, it's just a fancy looking classics Bumblebee. It's definitely not. It's definitely much more than that. But anyhow, let's get into his accessories. His accessories, he comes with just this one little gun, and it's molded in gray, and its handle kind of turns, as I kind of pointed out, but that's not for this mode. That's for something else. Good molding on it. It could have used like a little bit of paint, maybe in this detail here, maybe on this detail back here. I don't know. But it's kind of swanky. He holds it just fine in his 5mm peg hands. And just, he's got his little gun and he looks great. His face sculpt is just wonderful. Like really good. I dig it. Autobot stickers come separately, but just good detail all over him. He cleans up really well. He's got just a little bit of a hunchback here, but really it's not extreme, especially when you compare it to the official Takara releases, where I mean, the earlier Bumblebee has got an extremely pronounced hump, and the later Bumblebee just looks like a dumpster fire from the back, especially. But just a really clean figure overall. I like it. Small little paint apps on there and paint apps here. I dig it. It's nice. So let's get into his posability a bit. Oh, by the way, I will point out, so he's got light piped eyes. Actually, his little forehead doohickey too. But it's clear enough and bright enough that it doesn't just like make his eyes look dark and dead. They look blue and lively, even when lit from the front, and especially if lit from behind. So I think that's, I know Toyworld has a tendency, sometimes an annoying tendency, to do light piping, but I think that it's actually kind of okay this time. So his head is on a ball joint. He will look up and not really down, but up. Certainly rotates all around. No like side to side really. He's not going to do the head tilting thing. His arm goes around on this joint here. Now this is on a transformation hinge right here, so as you move it around, If you're not real particular about the way you move that, you'll probably end up moving that hinge as well. It's not a big problem, but it's just something that you should be aware of. There is kind of a detent in that hinge to kind of try and clip it onto that wheel well, but it just doesn't really work out super amazingly, at least not on this side. This side seems to work out a little bit better in terms of that seating system. Anyhow, his shoulders are a ball joint, so he'll go all the way around and out for a full tree pose. He's got an upper bicep swivel. And then he's got this elbow joint, which is just ridiculously tight. It's a ratchet. And the way they've got it is you can see the detents right here. This isn't just a molded in detail, that's the actual detents. And then it's got this gray plate here, and then there's going to be like a little ridge on that interacts with that. So because of that, it's going to rely on the flexibility of the plastic. It's going to be a really tight hinge. So, but it's not bad. I mean, at least it's better too tight than too loose, I guess, especially since I don't feel any kind of like I'm going to break it or something like that. Wrist swivel here. He's got a waist swivel that works just great. Hips will go forward that much, back that much. Comes out for the full Van Damme. His knee actually goes both ways, so it'll bend backwards, a little less than 90 degrees. It'll bend forwards, actually more than it bends backwards. But, you know, his ankle, so this is the only negative thing I can say about this figure in terms of poseability. So you've got his leg here, and then there's a ball joint there's a ball that sticks out, and then it gets clamped in between this gray part and this yellow part on the hood. And because it's sticking out, so it's cantilevered, he can be a little bit like he'll want to lean backwards a bit. Now, I did go in with a screwdriver and tighten up these screws right here, and that does help. But I don't particularly enjoy the way that ball joint was done. I think that in a perfect world, probably putting in a universal joint there with a detent that goes this way and then just a regular swivel that way, I think probably would have worked out really great. But that's not what they designed, and I wasn't one of the designers that worked on it, so nothing I can really say about it. But that ball joint does give him a good range of poseability and articulation on that foot. So it's actually pretty nice. And then let's get down into his transformation. Now his transformation, like I said, he is kind of based off of Classics Bumblebee in some ways, but not in a lot of ways. I will say that there are some aspects about this that make it a bit frustrating. I feel like they could have put a little bit more work into the engineering of it. But that's kind of characteristic of Toyworld at the time, because this figure came out about the same time that their Voyager class Hegemon and Orion. Yeah, Orion. That was their Optimus Prime. This was about the same time that those figures came out, and both of those figures, especially their Orion, had just huge issues with tolerances and getting panels to go around each other to go into their alt mode. So this is kind of indicative. This is kind of the same story in a lot of ways, but it's not a terrible figure, and it's not a terrible transformation, especially if you consider it to, like, you know, MP45, which his transformation, I was going to borrow the Masterpiece Bumblebees from my local buddy, because he's got both of those Bumblebees. I was going to borrow them for comparisons, but I don't even want to transform his MP45 again. Like, maybe I'd borrow it for robot mode, but there's no way I'd transform it. That's just how the transformation on MP45 goes. But anyhow, let's get into his transformation. So first thing you want to do is you want to open up this section on his chest here, and then that allows you to kind of move these sections out. You can just take care of this right away. You can pull out these little side view mirrors here, and this little panel here, and this will just hang out right here. Actually, it'll turn around like so. And then what you can do is kind of fold down his head, and what you want to do is you want to get these arms out of the way as much as you can, because you got to get this panel to go around, and like any way you do it, this panel just wants to fight with all the other panels around here. There we go. And then it's going to want to fight as I put it all back down. This is on a ball joint right here. It's on like a little hinge and a ball joint. And so if this pops off, it's not the end of the world. You can just pop it back on. In fact, the first time that I transformed this figure, it popped right off, and I was like, oh shit. But nothing broke. So that made me feel better about myself. I would have felt really bad if I broke one of his things. Especially since he's got figures that I don't know how easily they can be replaced, because they're like out of print, old, from the early days of third party. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to get this panel to fold up. And I'm trying to find, like every time I do this, I try to find the right way to do it. And every time I'm just like, maybe I'll remember that next time. And then I never do. So the head needs to fold under here. And this panel needs to go in front of these other little panels right here. There we go. And then this all kind of needs to just fold up. Like that. That works, right? So then we're going to take this and we're going to tab that into the bumper and tab that into the bumper. Kind of start pegging them together a little bit. His legs are going to go down like this, and then they're going to bend 90 degrees forward. You're going to unfold this door and unfold that window, and then there's like a little tab on the end of this tab. There's like a little bump on the inside of there, and I don't think that there's any adequate way for me to show you that. But basically, when you throw this up, you're going to need to get this, maneuver this past that little point. Because of the constrictions of this yellow ledge right here and this gray one here, you kind of got to like squeeze that black shin through that area. Oh yeah, and you got to open up this, otherwise it's all for naught. There we go, and it kind of clicks into place, and then you'll see that this tab is in line with that shin, and that's when I know it's in the right place. So let's do this again. Unfold, unfold, open this up, run this tab through here, there we go. And then at this point you want to fold these around, straighten up his arm, and then you're going to fold these around, and this little armature that the arm is sitting on is going to sit like that. But before we get too far into this, we do want to take his gun. There's this little slot right here. We're going to stick it on this tab right here, like so. And that's going to stick right out the back as his tailpipe, which I think is clever. Alright. So we're going to take these arms. You'll notice each arm has got a little tab on it, and there's corresponding slots as well. So we're just going to put them together. Straighten this arm still. Push those tabs together. Make sure this bumper stays together. And then it's just a matter of aligning all of these tabs. So you're going to kind of wiggle these into place. Squeeze that a bit. That'll help get that roof into place. You want to make sure that these windows go on the outside of those tabs and not on the insides, because if they're on the insides, they're just going to cause you more grief. Yeah. Boom. There we go. And there he is in his vehicle mode. And I think that this is what I think that the MP45 was going for. You know, just this kind of chibi cutesy little bug mode. Like, I think that this looks like in his robot mode, he looks as handsome as the earlier masterpiece, the earlier Takara release. And in his alt mode, he looks as cutesy as the later Takara release. Like, I really think that this figure has got the best of both worlds. And I know that Toyworld kind of like had this like falling out with their peeps. And I don't know if it's Toyworld who still has the molds for these, or if Zeta Toys has the molds for these. But I think it's probably Toyworld. I don't know. But I just really think that somebody needs to reissue this mold. I think that more people need to purchase this thing. It is just, it's really nice. It's a really good figure. It's really clean. Like, it does a lot of the stuff that the Masterpiece figures were supposed to do, but like a lot of them it does better. Like, this is a solid figure, man. I dig it. I recommend it. If you can find it for not like butt rapey prices, definitely go for it. There are, you know, they had some limited edition repaints of this too, and some of them are pretty rare to get, but I think that the actual yellow Bumblebee, the B as it says here, I think that's not too difficult to get. So if you're looking for a good Masterpiece alternative and you think that the latest Takara offering is kind of a clusterfuck, which it is, and you think that the earlier one is kind of like a little too proper, which in a lot of ways it is, this one is a really good option. But anyhow, thanks everybody for watching. You guys are fantastic. Everybody stay awesome and be good to each other. See ya.